Hello and welcome to American Beer TV. We have a special food pairing episode for you today, along with one of our new favorite breweries, Epic Brewing Company out of Salt Lake City, Utah. These guys are awesome. So we are doing a dinner for them tonight, and we decided on a Peruvian theme of all things. You know, we went, we thought, you know, Utah, let's go Peruvian. There's a bunch of big Peruvian immigrants in Utah.
I see that. You know,
so,
Peru, they have a lot of geographical similarities. No idea where that came from. But, so, you know, I don't know very much about Peruvian food at all. I don't think I've ever had any Peruvian food
So
at all.
the deal with Peruvian food is that Peruvian food is kind of like a Latin Chinese fusion. So it's like Latin Asian fusion.
Yeah, because I did read that there were a lot of like Asian immigrants in the 1800s.
Chinese immigrants.
Yeah. And they really brought a lot of the flavors to it.
I think Chile had a lot of Japanese immigrants, but Peru for some reason had a lot of Chinese immigrants.
Interesting. So what are the four? Let's talk about what we have out here today.
Cool.
We have 4 dishes, 4 beers. That's the standard way it works. What is this little morsel right here that we have?
So this is a Peruvian ceviche that they call leche de tigre, which is tiger's milk. So there's all kinds of stories.
Real tigers.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of stories behind that. It's like a killer hangover cure. It improves your libido. There's all this stuff. So there's stories of the leche de tigre that you actually take the tiger's milk after you eat the fish out of it and pour it into your beer or into their pisco. So
what's the difference between like Peruvian leche de tigre ceviche and like a standard Mexican ceviche that you normally find?
Yeah, the base is pretty much the same. So you use a basic whitefish and then you marinate it in lime juice overnight or for at least like 8 hours. You need to cook it through with the lime juice.
Okay.
If you look online for a recipe for leche de tigre, you'll probably see about 20 different recipes, and they're all going to be different. So I did my take on what I thought. I read a bunch of different recipes, and then I kind of made my own play.
Cool.
The real difference probably is basically that there's actual vegetables added to it. This one has sweet potatoes added to it and grilled corn. So we grill the corn, cool it down to refrigeration temperature, and then add that to the ceviche. The other thing which gives it like a milky texture is in this particular one we added a little bit of coconut milk, very little bit. So the actual juice in this one is really milky white. So hence the
interesting. Now what we're pairing that up with is Epic's Imperial IPA.
Yes.
So now the Imperial IPA 8.8% Imperial IPA. But it really has a very clean IPA quality. It doesn't have that really malty quality that a lot of Imperial IPAs. What was the flavor profile of the Imperial IPA and this what is that combo that you think why you decided to do that?
So why I went for this one...
Do you want to just get into it and start tasting?
We could taste it, sure. So why I went for this one was because there was more vegetables than a typical like Mexican ceviche. That it's really well-rounded.
Okay.
If you can say that. So it's got a lot going on. It's a really complex flavors. Same with the IPA. Has some really complex hop characteristics. So the real star of the show here is the lime juice that marinates the fish, and then that will really complement the floral hoppy characteristic of the Imperial IPA.
One of the things when you're pairing an IPA is a great pairing for a ceviche because of the, like you were saying, the lime juice. All the citrus qualities to it, so it'll be interesting to see how this leche de tigre pairs up with it. Let's dig in. Let's go for it.
So grab a little piece of the sweet potato on top, and you should be able to get some corn in there too. There's also ginger in this as well, which totally ties back into the huge Asian influence.
Wow. That's a ton of.
Yeah. See, normal ceviche really focuses on the really bright acidity from the lime juice. This has so many more flavor components because the vegetables and the coconut and all that stuff. So
it's really pretty rich. There's a lot going on there, but with the beer really, the IPA really kind of cleans the palate really nicely. It really kind of dries out the palate.
Yeah, it almost just washes all of that away.
It's a really nice palate cleanser.
Really punch.
It does. It really brings out the citrus qualities of the hops.
Corn in this is really cool. I really like things with corn in it when you're drinking beer.
Brings out malty sweetness.
Yeah, it brings out. I know, like corn in beer is bad, but to eat corn and then drink beer or things with corn flavor like corn cakes or polenta and stuff like that, in beer, awesome.
Because
tortillas.
Because it brings out the that sweetness. Kind of allows you to focus a little bit on the malty sweetness. I think that's really interesting.
Oh, let's move into the chicken.
Sure.
So this is pollo a la brasa, which is basically like roasted chicken, but the way a Peruvian style is, it's basically like a marinade. We marinate it overnight before we roast it, and it's soy sauce, well, a little lime juice, a little bit, not too much, a little tiny bit of vinegar, just to add like a bit of brightness.
Brightness. Cool.
And a ton of garlic.
And you've topped
and
this
cumin.
with
Cumin. Cumin's also in the beef coming up too. So.
Okay. And then you've added some yucca chips.
Yeah. So we
we
sliced on a mandolin. We sliced really thinly sliced yucca, and then deep fried it, little salt, and then put that on top for like a crunchiness. So.
Cool. And what
kind of basic by itself, you know.
And what beer are we pairing that with?
So this is going to be paired with the Epic Utah Sage saison.
So we have a
this
roasted
beer,
chicken.
So it's kind of a real homey dish. So it's roasted chicken, and then the herbal style saison.
Let's taste the beer a little bit first and get a flavor, because this has got a really unique flavor component.
Oh yeah.
That sage, really rustic, really homey, right away. That kind of farmhouse quality of the saison yeast. This is just down homey. So
I want some of the chips on there too. It's got some earthy quality.
Really earthy.
Cumin definitely adds that earthy quality. There's a little bit of oregano in there.
I'm trying to get a little more.
You can do it a bunch of different ways. You can use pretty much any herbs. You can use thyme, rosemary, all that stuff.
Standard kind of roasted chicken kind
of. All of these kind of Peruvian basic dishes are always open to interpretation. You can always kind of do them a bunch of different ways.
That really, with the sage in there, it's weird. It tastes like, kind of like a chicken dinner at grandma's house, but it's Peruvian food. And it's got yucca chips and it's a beer with the beer really pops after having food in your mouth. And it really, the herbal aspect of it, it takes the herbs that you've already used in this and adds a whole nother level. Yeah. It's just really, really interesting.
All right, one more bite before. So the chicken dish is on the milder side, but because it's a lighter beer, you get those subtleties out of the beer.
Yeah, because you have to balance out your intensity. If you made like tons of spice and everything like that, it would totally overwhelm the beer. So you have to know, when you're doing a kind of a pairing like this, you always try to look at the flavor intensity of food versus the flavor intensity of the beer. I mean, obviously, if you look at something like, a huge double IPA or a bourbon barrel aged stout or something like that, those are really intense flavor components. And if you do it, so you're going to have something really intense to pair that with. You always have to balance out the intensity there. So
so that leads in. That's a perfect segue to go into the beef. So the beef does have more of an intense flavor. Again,
now this is called
very similar.
What is this called?
This is called lomo saltado. So, which saltado is like to jump or something.
Okay.
I don't know where lomo saltado comes from. I don't know. But so it's beef and grilled peppers, onions, and potatoes.
Huh. It looks
so we
like
use steak fries. Yeah, and it's a stir fry. And very similar basic marinade. Again, it's like soy. I use rice wine vinegar, a ton of garlic, cumin, salt, pepper, all that into it, and then you kind of stir it on a flat top grill, or you can stir it in a large pan, and then add the fried potatoes right before you serve it. You add the fried potatoes and keep them really crispy.
So, and we're pairing this one. I know this has got to be a robust dish, because this is going with Epic Brewing Company's Smoked and Oaked Golden Ale. Now, this is a 10.3% Belgian Golden Ale.
No, it's a Belgian strong ale.
Or Belgian strong ale, excuse me.
That's brewed with
you can see
cherry wood smoked malt.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Cherry wood smoked malt. And then They age it in oak barrels. It's 10.3%.
It's crazy.
Let's taste the beer here. Wow. The oak really
that is a huge
comes
beer.
through. It is really thick in terms of the oak flavor, and then the smoked malt is there as well, and they blend together, and it really is a vehicle for smoke and oak. It really
you
is.
get the oak right up front, and then as it rolls through your palate, you get a lot of the smoked flavor.
And this is a pretty mellow in terms of the smoke. A lot of the smoked beers are really
so let's go into the Lomo Saltado. So this is actually going to make this, because of the smoked beer, it's going to give this like a barbecue.
I hear
feel,
you.
You know what I mean?
Have you smoked it? It's really interesting because it tastes Asian, but it also tastes
Latin.
Well, yeah, a little bit. So let's go on with the beer now. That really brings out the beefiness. It adds a little bit of
beer
smoke.
Tastes completely different after having a bite of food in your mouth.
Completely different.
Totally different.
And it blends a lot with some of the more, like the green peppers and the onions and everything like that. It kind of blends with some of a little bit of the sweetness that's in there, but really what we're looking at here is that smoke makes the beef flavor really pop, and it adds another depth. It's like you take a bite and then it's like in your mouth with this. It's like the meat was instantly smoked. It's pretty crazy.
Really cool. And the beer by itself was really intense. We're talking about flavor intensity. The beer by itself had a huge intense flavor, and then when you mix it with the food, it actually kind of mellows that out because
it does.
The dish itself has an intense flavor. So, as Bill was saying before about food intensity, that's kind of why you want to match those up. If you were to match up the beef with like the saison, it would almost like water down the saison.
Yeah.
So if you go with a chicken dish that has a really mild flavor, that's spicy, it has complexities, but it's all these mild complexities. Same with the beer.
Right.
This beer has very bold the food has very bold complexities, and the beer has very bold complexities as well.
I really like this dish and this pairing.
I know it's good. Sorry guys, we're eating it in front of you. It was really good. I keep wanting to eat. All right,
smoked and oak. If you get smoked and oak from Epic, I don't think you need to pair it with smoked meats per se. You might,
to do it with like a barbecue, like a pork butt or something.
Yeah, but if you did it like with a really smoky thing, I think it would overwhelm it. However, if you do it with some meat that you did on the barbecue, some carne asada, just some base, I think
you could do just like a grilled steak.
A grilled steak with that, and this will instantly add a more smoky flavor to it, and I think that's a really, really unique and fun combination. And I'm interested to try that with other smokers.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we want to point out with the videos that we're putting together here, is that you don't need to stick to what we're telling you. Like, you don't need to go out and do a Peruvian themed menu. No. I mean, it's cool if you do it. That's awesome.
Right.
But you can just kind of take some of our key points and do your own menu, and just kind of, like Bill said before, match up the intensities, match up some of the similarities in flavor profiles, and try to find balances. Whatever you think is going to balance is probably going to balance. Like, if you think it's going to work, most likely it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of.
And sometimes if you think it won't, it does anyway. And like with desserts, this guy has blown me away with some of the desserts. Doing a double IPA
I have,
with a with a churro. I think
churro and a double IPA.
Yeah,
if it's a sweet double IPA, and you do a cinnamon brown sugar churro thing.
That's what we're talking about here. We're using this as a demonstration of various different flavors and different beers, and we're going to keep bringing this to you so that you can, kind of learn about the flavors that pair well with beer. And speaking of that, here we got something really unique going on. The last one, you can see that we've got kind of a really reddish pink beer. Here, this is Brainless on Cherries. You might have seen us review this a little while ago. Brainless on Cherries, 10.5% Belgian ale. It's their Brainless Belgian. No, that's a golden ale.
So this is a golden ale, yes.
Okay, their Brainless golden ale that's added with cherry puree, finished off with champagne yeast, and aged in red wine barrels. Yes. So, really, really complex, tons of fruit flavors, and this is a red velvet cake.
Yeah, so this is red velvet cake. It's
which is kind of chocolate flavored, just to let you know.
Yeah, red velvet is basically red chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And then it's dipped in a dark chocolate ganache, and then it's finished with a chocolate buttercream. So it's like chocolate on top of chocolate on top of chocolate. So it's like cocoa,
but
dark
it's red
chocolate.
See, red cupcake, red beer. That's pretty cool.
That's the whole reason why we wanted to do this tonight.
So let's cut this one in half here, straight down.
Because I don't want Bill eating my half.
That's right, he doesn't. Because I will.
So let's taste the beer.
Okay. Yeah. So we go in for the beer, and this is a great beer to pair with desserts because it's very fruity, but it's not sweet. Like we said in our review.
It's got lots of layers, but it has this nice layer of tartness to it.
Yep, little tartness.
You get a little bit of oak because it's aged in barrels.
A little bit of that. You get the jamminess from cherries, but it's not. But because they finish off with a champagne yeast, the champagne yeast will go up to like 18%. It's a very high attenuating yeast, and so it'll eat all the sugars that are left. It'll make it so it's very dry, but it tastes almost sweet because of the fruit qualities to it. So it's very complex, very wine-like. I'm really fascinated to see how this will pair with this. I'm going to cut mine. Little bite-sized morsel.
Yeah, so red velvet cake is basically white cake that has cocoa powder added to it and red food coloring. So the whole reason why red velvet cake is red is because it has red food coloring.
Right.
So,
but
I don't know if that's like lame and fake.
No.
Red velvet cake is like such a huge thing, and instead of
red
velvet cake, traditional red velvet cake has the cream cheese frosting, which is like a perfect balance with the cocoa. But I wanted to go super chocolate, and I wanted the chocolate to actually balance out the tartness and the cherry flavor of the beer. So it's like tart cherry chocolate. Dark chocolate has the bitterness, which really balances out with tart cherries, all that. So.
It's bitching
when you have it like all in your mouth at one time.
Yep. You really do.
It turns your beer into like a dessert beer. It completely changes the flavor of the beer. Because we tasted the beer first, and it has this, we explained it to you, tart, oak, all that stuff. When you have like chocolate in your mouth, and then you put that on top of it, it's like a whole nother monster.
Yeah, that's when you do a beer and food pairing right. The food is one thing, the beer is another thing, and when they combine, they create what I consider a synergistic effect, and they become something else completely different. They become more than the sum of their parts. So it's like 2 + 2 = 17. It's fucking weird, and it works. And this is one of those ones
that's
that are
a good way
right.
to put it, actually. Yeah. But even now go back into the nose of the beer.
No.
And then think about chocolate, and then the nose of the beer. It's got malt and oak and cherries, and then you put chocolate
and a little bit of the Belgian yeast strain is coming through.
Yeah.
And then the chocolate on there, it keeps going like beer and cherries and chocolate and whatever.
Like to give praise to Epic, is that Brainless by itself doesn't taste anything like this.
No.
It's not like they tweaked a version of one of their beers. They actually made a completely different beer out of one of their own beers.
Yeah, which
it's
amazing.
Completely different. They don't have to call it Brainless on
How
cherries.
did you drink so little of that?
Sipping. Because you're an alcoholic.
No. I just wanted, every time I had cupcake in my mouth, I wanted to wash it around, roll it around in beer. In that Brainless. That's pretty amazing.
The tartness of the beer really balances out with the dark chocolate flavors, the sweetness of the cake, all that.
And the cake is very complex too, because you have this layer, the red velvet cake, which is not very chocolatey. Chocolate ganache is really chocolatey,
right?
And then the chocolate buttercream, which is kind of like a milk chocolate. So you have a really light chocolate,
milk chocolate, and
you
butter.
have a dark chocolate, and you have a milk chocolate kind of flavor to it. So you have like 3 different types of chocolate, which is complex.
With buttercream too, which I want to point out, buttercream is because it's butter and chocolate, which butter has.
Well, buttercream by itself, you can make it's butter and confectioner sugar just whipped. That's it.
And then add a chocolate to that. So that by itself has a huge level of fat. So that is
like
really.
I have a huge level of fat.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I guess so. You like buttercream, dude. That's why I like you so much. You like buttercream.
That's better than being a butterface. That's what I.
You're a real I'm gonna use that now. You're a real buttercream. That's just gonna be a compliment. Because buttercream's good, right?
Buttercream is good.
Every fat guy I see on the street, I'm gonna call him buttercream. How about that? What's up, buttercream? And then I'm gonna get socked, right? Let's see how many black guys I get in the show. So from now, for the next month, every fat guy I see on the street, I'm gonna call him buttercream. Because I'm skinny, so obviously they're gonna kick my ass.
So this kind of concludes our, culinary excursion into beer pairings.
Yeah, I'm gonna drink this IPA.
Okay, cheers, man.
Cheers with the IPA. Woo! Get out there and drink some craft beer.
And pair it with some awesome food.